WrestleMania 40 in the books. The weekend is in the books. And finally, Cody Rhodes finishes the story. He is your new undisputed WWE Universal Champion of the Galaxy, whatever they want to call it. And to help me discuss that and break down everything from WrestleMania weekend, joining me on the hotline, my good friend from Ad Free Shows, Dominic DeAngelo. Dominic, how are you, man?
Stu, it's always great to see you. And hey, let's what a way to kick it off here with WrestleMania. Talking about it. We're both big fans of Cody and the Rhodeses. So no better somebody to break bread with than you there, Stu.
I appreciate it. So you were there in Philadelphia. Short, I guess a relatively short train ride from
Not too
Pittsburgh.
bad.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's start with that. Let's start with Cody Rhodes, the main event, night 2. It was, the last few minutes of that match was the most overbooked thing on earth, and it was glorious for all of it. You had The Rock come down. Then you had, Seth Rollins coming out to the Shield music dressed as a member of the Shield. I'm going, hold it, did they find a way to get Moxley? And then here comes John Cena, and here comes The Undertaker. I mean, dear Lord. But in the end, Cody Rhodes hits Roman Reigns 3 crossroads, gets the pin. You were there in Lincoln Financial Field. Give me just the sense when the referee's hand hit 3 and we knew that the 1,300 some odd day reign of Roman Reigns was over.
So I think the big takeaway from that moment is just the validation for all those fans. Like you could hear it in the cheer. Like sometimes, like obviously, like you'll get your cheers and you'll get your pops and the talent that comes out, and like on an any Monday, whether it's a Cody Rhodes on a Monday night or a Randy Orton on a Friday night, you name it, whatever it may be. And like here though, there was just a different tone of that cheer when it hit. It's like boom, we made it. He made it. It happened. And you could feel that. You could feel that, whether you're at home or whether you're in the stadium there in the press box. It's like just no pun taken from The Rock, but just a lot of electricity going on there. It was awesome. It was awesome. Overbooked. I was totally fine with all that schmaz and everything like that because that's kind of what we were expecting. It was either going to be one way or the other, where it was like, okay, Cody and Seth are going to win, and that'll be the end of the Rock's story for WrestleMania on Saturday night, and then it will be a straight up one-on-one between him and Roman Reigns, and we'll get something legitimate, or it's going to be the other way around, where it's everybody's going to be involved and all that stuff. And so once that did happen on Saturday night, and we figured out it's going to be Bloodline rules, all bets were off, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. You could tell that Austin was supposed to fit in that Undertaker spot, and I think a lot of people, myself included, were clamoring to, can't wait to see Steve come out. But Undertaker's still a major star, and he has a history with Rock too, so it all kind of makes sense. And yeah, very fun show, very satisfying for fans. And I mean, we always talk Dusty Rhodes, we know it, the thrill of the chase, all that stuff. Well, what's going to be next for Cody here? That's what I'm intrigued about too, Stu, coming up.
That is going to be something to watch because, like you mentioned, the thrill of the chase, the money's in the chase. Now Cody has the title. Let's see what happens now. Something else in one of the things that got me, and I was sitting here in the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling World headquarters, and I'm watching it on Peacock. Hand hits 3, and you hear Samantha Irvin, and God bless her, she did a fantastic job all weekend long. But that one right there, you heard the emotion, and you can you see the videos, you see like Instagram and stuff where she gets emotional about declaring winners and such. This one went to a new level, and you hear it in her voice, and and we're all proud, we're all thrilled. So something that was hammered a lot was this, they're calling this the Triple H era, the Paul Levesque era. And Triple H himself in the press conference said, "Look, this is not my era. This is our era." All weekend long, though, I mean, going from SmackDown to NXT, both nights of WrestleMania, and then Raw, it felt a little different. It felt different from what we have seen in the past. Give me your your boots on the ground perspective of this new era that we are seeing in WWE.
I think the big takeaway from this new era, and I will say too, I think, Paul Levesque doesn't want to call it the Paul Levesque era, but I kind of think that's pretty good for branding in a lot of ways because he's Triple H. And, you have that, you want to get that identity a little bit. Hey, this is a new era. This is a new person. This is somebody that knows the business and everything like that. But I think the big takeaway is the intrigue behind each of these matches. A lot of these matches, in past, almost felt maybe thrown together, maybe not really well planned out, last minute, certain things like that, where the majority, if not all of these matches, had a little bit of backstory to them that could get a fan invested in. Whether some of them were executed well or not, it remains to be up for debate. But I think how they how it all got positioned, there was thought behind it, each and every one. And I think that kind of exuded throughout the course of these past several days that was WrestleMania weekend. So yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, you had some hits and misses, I think, in some regards, but I think ultimately there was a game plan there, and that game plan was shown, and it wasn't like, hey, this was game plan B or game plan D or game plan X. This was game plan probably A and B at least or something. And so a lot of it was really well done, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think for the first time in quite a long time, it felt like remember back in the day they used to say you start planning for WrestleMania the day after the previous WrestleMania. I
Mm-hmm.
would say they started that far back, but definitely like SummerSlam. This
Yeah.
one felt like, okay, we've got a game plan. We're going to go that course. And you mentioned hits and misses. I'll tell you what, there were very few misses. I mean, this
I
was
agree.
from top to bottom both nights. This was a fantastic card. It really was. Uh, Other new champions. Bailey defeats Io Sky. She gets her revenge on her former Damage Control partner, so now she's the new women's champion. Let me ask you this. So, start off Sunday night, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and I think probably the majority of people had a feeling Drew McIntyre was going to come out of there
Oh
as
yeah, I think so.
champion, and he
Mm-hmm.
did for 5 minutes and 46 seconds. Because in the midst of his jaw jacking with CM Punk sweeps the leg, hits him with the arm brace, and then here comes Damian Priest with that Money in the Bank briefcase, cashes it in, the South of Heaven choke slam,
Yep.
and now Damian Priest is the new world heavyweight champion. That on TV, on Peacock, that one it reminded me of when Dolph Ziggler cashed in so many years ago on Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah.
Was that the sense there in the stadium?
Oh yeah, I think I mean, you think of all the factors and it almost goes back to what we were just talking about where it's like there's been build for everything. Is like you think about all the players in that story from Seth Rollins. Hey, he's wrestled on night one already and he's already beat up and he's already like the workhorse champion that has been injured, that has like a torn meniscus or whatever it was. And then you also have Drew McIntyre who has been seeking this title, this WrestleMania moment for himself for how long, and he's turned a new leaf and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get that. And then you have CM Punk, who was positioned probably to win that Royal Rumble, and now he's on commentary. And now Drew McIntyre is rubbing it in every moment he gets that he can do all this stuff. And so you have all those players coming to play. Then you bring in Damian Priest, who has obviously have the briefcase since Money in the Bank, but it's like it's kind of been understated for a while. Like it's like okay, it all tied together. It was in combination with what was a great match between Drew and Seth. One probably, if I'm looking at from just a match standpoint, too, might be my favorite match of the whole weekend when it comes to WrestleMania was that match. And so you had all that going for it. And then boom, just exactly what you're looking for in a WrestleMania moment was that cash in. And CM Punk being involved with it elevates it up. And Drew, the work he's done as a heel, elevated all that up. And you have plenty of stories that you can tell moving forward in 2024, especially when CM Punk gets healthy again.
You know, in something that I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know if this was an unintended effect. It feels like now we've seen Rhea Ripley become as
Mhm.
popular as anybody in WWE.
Yep.
To the point she gets cheered, no
Yeah.
matter what happens with Judgment Day. Now I get the feeling Damian Priest is going to get that same cheer. And look, you and I have covered Damian Priest going all the way back. Go back to his Punishment
ROH.
Martinez and Ring of Honor. I got to know the guy. I was there when he won the TV title, and in Dallas, and I was there. Got to talk to him. We talked to him before G1 Supercard in New York. He's such a good dude, and he's so committed to the craft and everything. And I get the sense that both Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley are going to get cheered pretty heavily, while Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough are still going to get their boos.
Oh
But it's
yeah.
going to be a weird, kind of weird dichotomy there with the Judgment Day. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you too. And we saw a little like Easter eggs or moments of that with his interaction with R-Truth. Like it was almost like, hey, there's some buddiness there with those guys initially. Like that Damien liked R-Truth, but he was still a heel. So there was that connectivity that he has with crowds. And I think it speaks to who Damien is as a persona and identity and a person where he's able to connect with that crowd. It's going to be an uphill battle to kind of keep him in that heelish role, I think, but in a positive fashion for what it is, because it's like he's going to be over, I think. You have to line up the right opponents, I think, for him too to complement one another. And like Jey Uso, I think is probably going to be a very good start. But it's just like, what more are you gonna how are you going to keep that cooking? How is Damian Priest going to? I think what you're saying, eventually we're going to see a lot of tension, I think, boiling in the Judgment Day. And, I would almost want Rhea to be a proponent of that against Damian Priest and make Damian Priest almost the quote unquote outsider of this equation. And like, so then you can still, I mean, Rhea's going to get cheered, like you said, either way, but she feels like the leader of that group in a lot of ways. So I
Yeah.
think if you can put her in that position of being like, listen, this guy's taking up too much spotlight or something's going wrong, he's got an ego about him, whatever it may be. I think he could really run with that and make something very compelling through this coming year with Damian Priest with that title.
Yeah, I think you're right. Other championships changing hands. Sami Zayn defeated Gunther, so he is your new Intercontinental Champion. That was cool to see. And then we had the six-pack challenge for the tag titles. They have split the tag titles back out. So you had R-Truth and Miz get the Raw tag titles. Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, A-Town Down Under get the SmackDown tag titles. It wasn't quite a Wrestle Kingdom type of deal where all the titles changed hands, but almost all of them. Overall, just a fantastic event. We saw the press release. WrestleMania 40, the most successful event in company history, set records for gate, viewership, merch sales. If there was a record to be set, this one did it. Just for you think about the ride that we have been on for at least the last 6-8 months. WWE, dear Lord, they are as hot as they have, I would say they have ever been. I'll go all the way back to the Hulkamania era. This is a new level. And I think I would say it's something that 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would say even 5 years ago, I'd say before the pandemic, I don't think anybody would have ever seen this.
Oh no, and you would think that maybe like, at that juncture too, it's like obviously AEW is such a new product at that point, but the promise felt more with AEW at that point than it was with WWE. Like you just felt like, wow, they're just treading water if they're just not sinking basically because of like all the factors and Vince making last minute decisions and what we've all been kind of accustomed to. That's why AEW is such a hot product in a lot of ways, is like they took advantage of that momentum that WWE didn't have. And now, hey, look at it. It's just like the tides have completely turned when it comes to a lot of that aspect. You see just how, yeah, you mentioned it. It's just on another level of like this global entity. They're building out, they're doing PLEs internationally now, where it's just like we're going to get something in France, we're going to get something in Berlin, Clash at the Castle coming up. You name it, there's more on the horizon for WWE as this global product that makes it feel more, I guess, for lack of a better word, relatable to a broader audience. And you even we mentioned Cody Rhodes. I mean, like he had a hell of a weekend from a merchandise selling perspective. He made over $1 million in merchandise sales. Was the most searched name on Google after WrestleMania, above The Rock. Just a lot of good things going right now. They have things are taking course. It shows what thought and consideration and connection that WWE wants to continue to make with their fans. It's a big deal. It's pretty cool to see. It's hopefully it raises all waters, not just with WWE, but all wrestling that we do see moving forward.
Yeah, I hope so too, and I've got faith that it will. Um, go back Friday night, WWE Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman with an all timer as far as his speech went. I mean, look, yeah, they had to hit the bleep button several times, but you know what? It was worth it. I mean, that was a speech. I don't know. I won't go so far as say it was the greatest speech, but man, it's up there.
100%. Like, yeah, I'm not going to rank it as the best one overall or anything to that effect because there's been a lot of great speeches and like some that you can really put up there too. But Paul Heyman, that was his speech. That was like you got all types of Paul Heyman in that one, from the Advocate to the Father to the ECW Rebel to all it, you name it, like the Wise Man. He touched on all points and really made that connection back to Philadelphia with those curse words, with that identity, with that look, um, and like touched upon stars of the previous past from the history with him too, and the ones moving forward too. He happened to mention, and he reiterated the Paul Levesque era too, and what Triple H has done, and so it's just, yeah, it was a great promo. It was a great speech. And, Paul, there's a reason Paul's there and why Paul has outlasted so many people and is still a viable commodity in wrestling, and whether he's a manager or whether he's an influence behind the scene, and he's basically both. So that's it, it was great. Yeah, very jaw-dropping to hear some of those words being said just in front of everybody, but hey, it is with the ECW brand, and I think a lot of people liked it more than they hated it. So
Win in Philly, right? So
win in Phil, win in Rome, exactly,
that's
exactly.
right. So you fast forward to Monday Night Raw. Cody comes out, and he and the place is loving him, and then here comes The Rock, congratulates Cody, hands him something. We have no idea what he handed him, and
Mm-hmm.
says he's got to go away for a while, but he will be back. Sounds like we could get a Cody Rhodes versus The Rock match. I don't know if he'll stretch it out to WrestleMania 41 or if it's going to be sooner. But give me your thoughts on the prospects of the American Nightmare and the People's Champion.
I think there's a reason The Rock's called the final boss. It just really felt like that way, and I don't want to diminish anything that Roman Reigns has done throughout the course of his reign, and especially at WrestleMania. I thought he was amazing at WrestleMania. Like was the understated hero of that match, I think, because of all the body language that he conveyed, the facials that he did, the quotes that he had during the match, just added a whole nother element to it all. And so, like, but I think a lot of that, what we've seen with The Rock coming back, has been such a refreshing tie back to nostalgia, but in its own way, a fresh new thing, because The Rock is such a huge megastar now, and he's showing up week in and week out on SmackDown and like a regular character on television that we would never have think to have happened again with the star power and the star level that he's at. So seeing him at that level with that type of entrance and that type of presentation and how they executed all of it at WrestleMania both nights, then for him to show up on Raw, I think what we got from that Philly crowd in the Wells Fargo Center was a testament to what The Rock has done as a heel returning as the final boss, and also a testament to how Cody Rhodes has connected with everybody. So you get Cody being that adulated and loved and cheered, and that video package that Triple H had for him. And then in the contrast, you have The Rock having to take these pauses and wait for these boos to settle down that didn't settle down. And you get that Dom Mysterio type level of heat where he's has to wait. And I think he handled the what chance better than anybody at this point. The cadence that he had and everything like that, just really well done. And I know people kind of was like, wow, that ran really long. That was like 45 minutes, 47 minutes. Listen, I had zero problem with The Rock going that long because it's Cody and The Rock, and you're not going to see this for a while. So I loved it. I loved it. What do you think he handed to him, Stu?
Man, it's a good question. I don't know if he handed him. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'll be honest. I don't know. It could have been. It could have been keys to something. Could have been a necklace of some sort. I don't know.
What? I can't remember. Now, I'm not going to take credit for this because somebody else said it. I just can't remember who. But they were saying, what if it was Dusty's Hall of Fame ring? He gave Cody, he had Dusty's Hall of Fame ring and let Cody know, hey, listen,
Oh,
you do this for me. This is what I'm going to give to you, or we'll cherish this together, and we'll know that you're going to get your shot down the line here.
well,
And
I could guess I could see that, but then my question is, how did The Rock get Dusty's Hall of Fame ring? Because as
Dusty
far as
just,
I know,
yeah,
Cody has most of Dusty's stuff.
that's what I would think too. But you could kind of muddy the waters here if you're doing it from a storyline perspective, I think.
I know Dustin has some stuff, and then I know some stuff is in the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame up in New York.
Yeah.
But I think Cody has majority of Dusty's, gear and what all everything.
When
That
did Dusty get inducted? Do you remember what year he got inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Good Lord, oh
Because you could,
seven, oh
you
seven,
could,
oh eight, something like that.
okay, because you could, and I'm not taking credit for this either, because this is the other point that this person mentioned. Whoever it was, I wish I could remember because I would definitely give them the credit. But they said, what if it was a moment where Dusty was hard on his luck and he gave this ring to The Rock to help him out and to help his son get positioned in the right way, on the right track to being a professional wrestler and stuff like that? You could maybe play it to something like that. Wish I remembered who told me.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's I guess it could be, and of course, I'm in the middle. I'm going to see when he was in 2007. So he went in
Okay.
2007. So it's been over 15, 16, 17. So it's been 17 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, and Dustin and Cody were both there,
Hmm.
as we recall. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I could see that happening, but I think it's probably something that it's just obviously it's just between The Rock and Cody. I'm not sure it's something of Dusty's. It may be something of The Rock's.
Hey, that could be it too. Hmm.
Who knows?
You could be right there too. Yeah, we didn't. I didn't even put that together. There's a lot
Yeah.
of pot. Hey, yeah, we're and that's the intriguing thing. We're gonna have to table it and wait. We're
Yeah.
just not gonna know. And I like that. I like that aspect.
Yep.
I don't
Absolutely.
know if it'll be SummerSlam or WrestleMania. If I were to, if I were to say let's do it at a point, I would say do it at SummerSlam. Like get it there, and then you could build the Rock and Roman at WrestleMania 41 if you.
I think that'd be a good plan.
Hmm.
We so Bronson Reed's doing this promo because he's going to be in the 4-way to crown a number one contender, and then screen glitch.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just, I've got YouTube TV, so I thought maybe it was just,
It's just your YouTube.
yeah. Well, and we had some clouds, and it's been a little, we've had some little bit of stormy weather the last couple of days here in Central Texas. So I'm thinking, it's just a glitch. Well, apparently, no, it wasn't just a glitch, because the next day, a lot of everybody's reported, if you screen capture it in the very small letters, lower right hand corner, it said hello. So we know that at the end of the Bray Wyatt documentary on Peacock, there is a tease of Bo Dallas, taking some sort of, whether it's Uncle Howdy or some other character. I Give me your level of excitement for Bo Dallas, appearing on WWE TV as something.
I love it. I do love it. I think it's a great homage to Bray Wyatt to have him continue that legacy of this supernatural character. I think there's always some value in having that kind of supernatural character. We've seen it with The Undertaker, and I think carrying on that legacy in WWE, a sports entertainment entity that it's been known as, but now it's going into pro wrestling back again. I think there's such value in having him do that. And you bring in this audience that was really wrapped towards Bray, and a lot of people feel down about, obviously, like the tragedy that happened. And so it's like, and who better way to carry that on than his brother, and to have that kind of thing happen. I will say too, while I was at Raw, for that show, in between main event and when Raw was set to air, there was the lights went out and there was music playing. Billie Holiday, I believe this was one of the songs, and it played for like 7 seconds maybe or something like that. And if you look back to when Bray returned, they had the Jefferson Airplane White Rabbit song playing. So a lot of cool stuff they're doing here. Now I'm very excited. I like all this kind of stuff going on because wrestling is about characters, wrestling is about storytelling, and you have somebody that's like that in your product, and not only that, but somebody that's tied to somebody that everybody already had a connection with. In a better mindset, I think, when it comes to, hey, how things were booked was very haphazardly because you had Vince McMahon there. You don't have Vince anymore now. Now you have people that can really tell you a consistent story. Let's see what goes on here with Bo Dallas, and whether he's Uncle Howdy or another persona. I'm pretty excited for it, Stu.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Look, I like Bray Wyatt. I wasn't a fan of the Fiend.
Yeah, that's it.
The very last iteration of Bray Wyatt I liked.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the music. The theme song is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very intrigued to see what we see from Bo Dallas. I want to touch on NXT. We had NXT Stand and Deliver on Saturday. Ilya Dragunov able to retain the NXT title, beating Tony D'Angelo. Roxanne Perez, now a two-time NXT Women's Champion, defeating the now former champion Lyra Valkyria. Plus Trick Williams beating Carmelo Hayes. We know that's going to carry on a little bit as Carmelo Hayes attacked Trick Williams last night on NXT. And then on top of that, we see both Dragunov and Perez on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Again, kind of this new era where we're going to see a lot of people, well, in fact, on NXT, we saw Natalya, we saw who else was it? Natalya, we saw Ivar, and then saw the Final Testament.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to see more of, main roster talent hitting NXT, NXT talent hitting the main roster. Plus, you got the WWE draft coming up April 26th on SmackDown, and then April 29th on Raw. So the next few weeks are going to be really, really fun to watch, just to see who ends up where.
Yeah, it's always an exciting kind of time. You're always kind of like worried about like the WrestleMania hangover, and getting into that point of like, okay, where's things going. What's going to catch me that might, that I was so excited for WrestleMania. Now that roller coaster is going on the down slope, what's next for us? And I think they're gonna position themselves pretty well on across the board when it comes to some of this stuff. NXT, it's going to be really interesting to see the development of NXT, I think, throughout this year. I don't know exactly what's on tap for them when it comes to like touring or doing anything like that. I know they've made the loop around Florida on a regular basis, but it'll be interesting to see if they really, really try to branch out a little bit more this year and try to make it more of that kind of third brand because it's cool. It was awesome to see Paul Heyman and John Cena and Seth Rollins all make that crossover to NXT, made everything feel like a bigger deal. And you know, it's a fun product. It's a fun product. Can't say I was very happy with cousin Tony losing, but I mean, the family can't win them all, I guess. So it's kind of a bummer, but what are you gonna do?
The family's got to, step back, reassess, and
Yes.
again. So, um, but yeah, it's going to be like I said, the next few weeks. Not to mention, we'll see some debuts. Allegedly, if you believe the rumor and innuendo, shout out the podcast. You
Hey,
do.
thanks. You know it.
With Mark. What's your partner's name on rumor and innuendo
Oh,
podcast?
Robert Karpelis is
Robert.
my.
Robert. I couldn't.
Yep. Marcus, my brother, he made
That's right.
a couple appearances on there though.
But if you believe, talk around the campfire, Julia has signed with WWE. She's going
Mm-hmm.
to finish up whatever date she has in Japan, starting this new women's promotion in Japan, and then she'll report to the Performance Center. And then on top of that, Jacob Fatu, the former
Yeah.
Major League Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. I've seen him a lot down in reality wrestling down in Houston with Booker T. He apparently has signed with WWE. So we could see him coming out, pretty soon. So it's going to be exciting. It really
Tamatonga too is another name that was mentioned a while back. We
exactly.
haven't seen yet. Mm-hmm.
One half of the Gorillas of Destiny. I wonder if Tangaloa will follow him. We will
It's
see.
very interesting. You know?
We will see. WWE also announced 22 live events between the months of June and September. One of particular note right here, Monday
Mm.
Night Raw, Monday, August 12th. They get in the mood, as Matthew McConaughey would say. They are going to be at the Moody Center right here in beautiful Austin, Texas. So that'll be fun. That'll be what, a week and a half, maybe? Week and a half after SummerSlam.
Is that the scheduled date?
It's
I
set for Monday, August 12th.
Okay.
And isn't
See,
SummerSlam like the third? It's usually the
SummerSlam.
beginning of August.
Yeah, usually it's either very late January or the beginning of August.
Yeah. So
Okay, August 3rd.
okay, so there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be basically 9 days after SummerSlam, Monday Night Raw right here in the ATX. So that'll be interesting. Let's switch gears to AEW Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor on Friday. Always a fantastic event. And boy, you talk about, this was an emotional weekend for sure with Cody finishing the story, but it started Friday night. Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. It was bloody. It was violent. It was a love letter to violence, as somebody reported. And sure enough, 11 years to the day after Jay Briscoe won his first world title, Mark Briscoe is now your new Ring of Honor World Champion. I mean, if your eye stayed dry for that celebration, that match, I don't know what to do with you, because I'm watching on my phone at a Boy Scout camp in Bastrop, Texas, and I was crying.
Yeah.
So I gotta imagine there were some tears, tears of joy flowing there at the Lycurgus Center in Philadelphia.
Oh, I could only imagine. I wish I was there. I was at SmackDown that time, but like following along in what was going on there and knowing that this is a big moment for Mark Briscoe and what a good dance partner he has in Eddie Kingston and stuff like that when it comes to this. And then you think about, obviously the journey and the tragedy and, the sadness that comes with it. But the family is still such a core family. You see all that family together in the ring and everything like that. And I remember too, oh gosh, you might know it, Stu, when they brought out Jay's daughters after the car accident
Yeah.
for on Dynamite, and that, whew, man, did that hit me. It was just like, you think about, that kind of that person that Jay was and that family, how that such was big for them, and the Briscoe brothers and Jay had such a charisma and presence and attitude, and Mark has his own charisma and presence and attitude, and it's just so good to see. Like it's such a cool thing for the Briscoes. I think it's good for the ROH brand too, in turn, and man, yeah, I was a big fan of the Briscoes, like just a huge fan of them all, and what a super card. It's always kind of like there during WrestleMania. It's like a factor there, but like they always do deliver when it comes to those events in particular, since they've started doing it WrestleMania year season.
I've been lucky enough. I have been to 6 of them, counting G1 Supercard in Madison Square Garden,
Mm-hmm.
counting last year in Los Angeles at the Galen Center on the campus of USC. I was there. That last year's Supercard of Honor was the first pay per view Mark had been on without his brother. First Ring of Honor pay per view without his brother. And I remember he wrestled Samoa Joe for the TV title and didn't, and he lost. And a lot of people felt like he should have won. He comes to the press conference, and I was lucky enough. I'm the first person to ask him what did it feel like to be there without Mark or without Jay, and he talked about it, and it was just so moving. And look, you and I have been in enough press boxes.
Mm-hmm.
The unwritten rule is you leave your fandom outside the press box. But I tell you what, that after that, in fact, so he did that press conference. He gets up and he walks right by me, and I had to stand up. I gave him a big old hug, and I told him I loved him. And we are such fans of the Briscoes, and so to watch that Friday night, that was just so moving. And then on top of that, them getting inducted to the Indie Wrestling Hall of
Yeah, how
Fame,
about that too? Mm-hmm.
that was wonderful. I mean, what a great weekend for the Briscoes. Billy Starks beat Queen Aminata. She is the very first women's world TV champion in Ring of Honor. If from what I hear, that wasn't the most popular decision that happened, but well, let's see what happens. Billy Starks, 18 years old. I mean, I think she's graduated high school now, but
I think so. I
still,
don't.
yeah, she it's if not, she's about to. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but overall, like you said, Ring of Honor, Super Card of Honor, always a fantastic show. Um, so AEW, and you probably noticed me looking up. I have Dynamite on my television, and they just showed the quote backstage footage, and sure enough,
good
it
day.
was the backstage footage of Jack Perry and CM Punk from All In last year. Now I had the volume down, so I couldn't hear much, but that's okay. Just my 2 cents from the way it looked like two guys that had a disagreement and they decided to throw hands,
Yeah,
and that's it. There has been a lot of talk though about why are they doing this now. There is a little bit, the Young Bucks and FTR are going to face each other at Dynasty to crown new AEW tag team champions, so this kind of plays into that storyline. But I think a lot of people feel like, look, we've gotten past this. Why bring this back up?
yeah, yeah.
What do you think? Is this kind of like a really dangerous move for Tony to pull on Dynamite?
Look, I said it earlier today on Rumor and Innuendo. I like, you know, Tony should really be putting the focus on his stars and what you're doing, good or bad, to make those stars feel like stars. So you have guys like a Wardlow, you have guys, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head that have been pushing Eddie Kingston, just as a small example, because you'd see him for a little bit and then he'd be gone and then things like that. Guys like that, gals like that, Thunder Rosa, yeah, Athena, who you only see on ROH,
Billy
Ruth
Hart,
Soho, yeah,
Billy Hart, Sky
Billy,
Blue.
exactly. These stars, this is what you should be focusing on. This is week to week, day after day, pay per view after pay per view. These are who you should be focusing on. You should not be focusing on the short term of a person that is not no longer with your company and that is on the other brand, nonetheless, as a big major star. This is such an afterthought. And I said it on River and United. I said it's low rent. It feels low rent. And I love Tony Khan. I think he's such a nice person. I think he's, has a desirable passion for the business. And it's so refreshing to see. But his priorities don't feel lined up with this. And it's unfortunate to feel that way because it's just like you built such goodwill at the early stages of AEW from these Cody Rhodes, from these the even the Elite at that point, and so many other names that have come through, and a lot of promise going through these times. And now here we're at this juncture where they feel like an afterthought sometimes, and you have these other new stars from Will Ospreay to Okada to Mercedes Moné that you have signed big deals to. Make them feel like the big deal. Don't make some tape from several months ago of a person that's no longer there that is on the other product. Don't do that. You focus on what you have and what you're working towards because you're not going to get anywhere and it feels low rent and it feels counterproductive. And I think it will be counterproductive.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it, WCW 2000, but it's definitely not. I think it's a mistake. I really do. Like you said, the primary player there is now on the other brand, and oh, by the way, from all reports, he's doing pretty well over there.
Things are getting along nice and easy over there. He's proactive and he's helpful.
Feels like they're digging up dirt just for the sake of digging up dirt. Maybe get an extra ratings point or two. I don't know, but it just feels like it's just not worth the squeeze. It really isn't. So
I agree, Stu.
See what happens. We'll see how it falls out. As we mentioned, Young Bucks FTR will face each other to decide who the new AEW World Tag Team top champions are. It was supposed to be Samoa Joe in a world title eliminator match against the Natural Dustin Rhodes. However, they have Samoa Joe come out first and Swerve Strickland attacks him and ends up Dustin doesn't even come out. So
wow.
Let's see if they have Dustin face him maybe in a week or two on Dynamite or whatever. This, it's going to be Samoa Joe versus Swerve Strickland at Dynasty. Would it be criminal to have Samoa Joe drop the title this soon?
It's a great question. You kind of try to think it from the value you want to get out of Swerve when it comes to this. Is he going to be harmed by the fact that he keeps not winning the title, being in these matches and stuff like that? Is that return going to start to hurt him? And I don't know. I think there's still very much a lot of value in keeping the title on Samoa Joe because he's a prominent figure. He's has some name cachet. He's got star value. He's got a veteran presence. You want the journey of Swerve to be satisfying when it comes to the ultimate payoff. So, I would not have put Swerve in this position, even though it's a positive position. I mean, you're in the main event world title match. But, I would not have put him in this position at this juncture. I would have waited and built Swerve up into a different feud with somebody else that you're also building up. Because you can always go back to him and Joe again. And, then he takes it away from Joe. I don't know, Stu. So I would lean more towards the side that, yes, I think it is too soon. But what do you think? I'd like to hear your opinion on
You
that.
know, there is the notion of you strike while the iron's hot. And right
Mm-hmm.
now, Swerve Strickland is really hot. But it feels like this is a feud that could have waited. I don't know if you do it for All In, but you could do it for All Out.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would give it until this summer. It feels like I get the thought of pulling the trigger now. Like you, I'm not sure this is the time to take the title off Samoa Joe. Like you said, I think there is worth in keeping him as the world champion. Have these feuds again. Dustin wants a shot.
Yeah.
He's never held a world title.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to catch up to little brother and daddy.
Yes.
So, that would be something. Um, you've got Will Ospreay who's on the TV screen now. He's got Bryan Danielson coming up at Dynasty. Maybe Will Ospreay. You could have him and Samoa Joe at All in
Mm-hmm.
London. There are several others. So I don't know. It does feel a little soon. I
Just spitballing here, Stu. What would you think about, okay, so you said Swerve attacked Joe and Dustin didn't get his shot. What would you think about kind of what I just mentioned in regards to like building a feud with somebody else with Swerve? What if that person was Dustin and you flipped it over where Dustin is like almost the heel in this role as he's upset that Swerve keeps screwing him out of getting this shot that he's been working towards. His brother got something. What's that gonna do? And I think I don't know, it would be a different story to tell. And you could table Swerve for Joe later on and then still have a good high profile program with rebuilt Dustin Rhodes. I don't know, just
I don't
spitballing.
know. It's yeah, no, I get it. And he's played heel before with
Mm-hmm.
Dust. Um the thing is, I mean, I guess there is a way you could get the crowd to boo him,
Mm-hmm.
especially if he's in a feud with Swerve. I don't know if Tony will do that though.
Yeah, I don't know either,
Because
but
he loves Dustin. And
yeah.
with not only with what he does in the ring, but what he does with the coaching and such behind the scenes. I'm not sure a heel turn for Dustin. I don't know if it would take. You know,
Interesting. Yeah.
be
It
one of
is.
those things. Could be one of those things. It could be kind of like, remember, and I'm aging myself, but go back to when they tried to turn the Road Warriors heel. They attacked Dusty. It didn't take.
Didn't stick. Didn't
I
stick.
got a feeling that's going to be. I think it'd be the same thing with Dustin,
That's a good
because
point.
Dustin is so beloved and so respected that I think it'd be it'd be hard for people to boo him.
Yeah, it could be very tough. It could be interesting. I wouldn't be against it. I'm sure Dustin could reinvent himself and
Oh,
make a new era for himself as a heel.
absolutely.
But would it connect? Would it stick? That's the issue. What you got to worry about.
So yeah.
Mhm.
How much of a gamer are you?
I used to game a lot, big time, like too much. Now I barely play, like maybe once a month. But
Well,
what do you got cooking?
if you heard, All Elite Arcade
Oh,
gaming podcast. We
yeah.
launched April 15th. So let's see. Today is the 10th, 11, 12, 13. So next Monday, Adam Cole and Eva Uno as your
Mm.
hosts for All Elite Arcade.
Mm.
I guess this is AEW's attempt at competition to up, up, down, down, I suppose. Of course, Adam Cole was a regular contributor on Up, Up, Down, Down when he was still with NXT, so I guess that makes sense. Um, I am not a gamer.
Yeah.
I could barely handle Pac-Man back in the day, so I stick to my solitaire, a couple other things. So, but yeah, that should be interesting.
I tell you what I'm more excited for is apparently Madden. Did you hear this? That Roman Reigns is on Madden?
He's on Madden?
He's gonna be. So they have the thing called the Ultimate Team, where you buy sports cards and you put those players on your team. And Roman Reigns is one of those sports cards that you can have. Being a former Georgia Tech football player,
Right. Yeah, he
yeah,
was he played linebacker, I think, for Georgia Tech.
yeah,
I know he went to a couple training camps.
yeah. Vikings?
Right.
No, not the
No, it
Vikings.
wasn't Vikings. It
It
was
was. Now I'm gonna have to think about
was it
that one.
Miami, maybe? No.
Maybe.
Maybe
I
the
want to.
Dolphins. I'd have to look it up, but I
I'd
know
have to look it up too.
he was being looked at. It was like he was one of those undrafted free agents
Yeah,
after the draft, and so I could see that happening. Why not?
yeah. It's a fun little thing to do in the off season, like the draft's coming up. So the NFL draft, and then the other guy I was really excited for, who's also another celebrity they're putting on the game, is Burt Reynolds.
Okay, all
I'm
right,
pumped.
that'll do.
So that's what I'm excited. I am a gamer for that.
Florida State legend. I get it.
Yes.
So,
Uh-huh.
now Roman Reigns, he's interviewed NFLers before. In
Yes.
fact, he and I were on the floor at Super Bowl 54 in Miami.
Oh.
He was there for opening night, media day, whatever you want to call it. He was there along with Baron Corbin interviewing Chiefs and the Niners that year. In fact, Roman and I shared some of the same airspace trying to get to a podium, to get Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid or somebody. And in fact, I leaned over. I said, welcome to our world. He goes, yeah, this is kind of difficult. I said,
A
yeah,
little
it is.
interesting.
It was for sure. So yeah, why not? Hey, have
Yeah.
have
That
him, have him as a playable character. That,
gave
that
me the incentive to go check it out.
that'd be fun. All right,
Yeah.
that's cool. He is Dominic DeAngelo. Catch him. Ad-free shows. It's Rumor and Innuendo with
Mhm.
Robert
Carpolis.
Carpelis.
Mhm.
You're doing the Magnum and Gagne podcast. Magnum,
Yeah.
Greg
We're,
Gagne.
we're
You're
now on
still
the
doing the RVD?
Still doing RVD, so we got one of a kind with RVD every Monday at 4:20 Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. It drops on YouTube, drops on your podcast network of choice. And then, yeah, you mentioned it. Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA, and Greg Gagne. We are now a part of the Four Horsemen Network with Arn Anderson.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we're under that umbrella there. So definitely go to Arn Anderson's YouTube channel. All the episodes will drop there moving forward. Only YouTube. It's only going to be on YouTube. I cut out the whole podcast aspect of it. So it's just going to be episodes on YouTube, clips on YouTube. Really fascinating stuff. We got a lot of cool stuff planned for that channel and for that for Gagne and Magnum coming up. So and that drops every Tuesday. So we have a new episode yesterday where to introduce people to it. I compilated all the ones together of Dusty, where we talk about Dusty Rhodes, where we talk about Vern Gagne, and when we talk about Ric Flair. So it's a good kind of introductory way to get fans invested in into the product from the Four Horsemen Network. So pretty exciting stuff to Stu. It's a good time. I always like staying busy, and it's always a great time being here with you too.
Sounds great. Dom, I appreciate it, man. All the best to you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks, brother.